Think of your jiu-jitsu game as a hallway. Some days, you're guiding your opponent down the hallway, choosing and opening each door as you go. Other days, doors are being closed, and someone else is leading you down the hallway. They don't just submit you, they dismantle you. Effortlessly, calmly, without force and without ego. And that's when you realize there are levels to this. Today's episode is all about that realization and what some of the different levels of jiu-jitsu are. And we're not talking about belts. That's a topic for another episode. We'll talk about the mindset and experience that defines some of those levels. So let's get into it.
Welcome to the Black and Blue podcast. My name is Travis. This is the Canadian tree stump Emmett, and this is episode 14. There's levels to this.
Mm-hmm.
When we were discussing this one, I got really excited about it. Right before this, we did have a comment. Last episode, we didn't mention Avon.
I know.
Just bringing that up right off the bat.
Yeah.
Just so that we don't get that comment again.
And
Avon's got a super fight coming up.
Nice.
Another one.
Nice.
So yeah, she's killing it. But yeah.
And I mentioned to you the other day, so we recorded that. That was another late night recording session. And I woke up in the morning and I was like, the first thought that entered my mind was, oh my God, we didn't mention Avon. So
people noticed.
Yeah, we got Avon. If you are listening to this, we got called out for that. So yeah.
So we'll get that out of the way. Super fight. I think it's July 5th. So yeah, tune into that one.
Awesome. and yeah, I rolled with Avon. I think it was on Saturday, and man, she's so much better than me. It's embarrassing.
Oh yeah.
Humiliating.
Yeah. Easy.
There really are levels to this, and she's at a different one than me. So, So with regard to the levels, I did a little bit of like looking around about where did I first hear that phrase? Like, where do you commonly hear that phrase? And I think one of the places that people really commonly hear it, even outside of the strictly jiu-jitsu world, is Israel Adesanya used to say it every time he won a fight.
Yeah, Stylebender would call it out. He'd shout it out. There's levels to this, and like pound his chest. Yeah, and there is.
Yeah.
Like, and in his style, he showed another level. Like his timing and his accuracy was on another level. It was beautiful to watch. It was like watching Anderson Silva, right? His timing, his connectivity. Whenever he wanted to punch, he pinpoint punched. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So in MMA, I think it's almost easier to see that there's different levels in the striking game.
Yeah.
Like you see it. It's a physical thing that you can see. Whereas in jiu-jitsu, if you're the one having it done to you, it's like it's a little bit harder. If you don't know what's happening, it's very hard to feel the different levels.
Yeah.
So.
And watching Anderson Silva in his prime, that was ungodly. It was just like an otherworldly thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how much people really appreciate how incredible that guy was.
Yeah. It would be GSP and Demetrius Johnson and Anderson Silva for my top three greatest of all time. Fedor's up there too. Fedor was amazing. But like in terms of pinpoint accuracy, Silva had it down.
Yeah.
He just beautiful on the feet. He also had jiu-jitsu, but he just rarely ever had to use it.
Yeah.
It was almost impossible to take that guy down.
And we'll talk about this a little bit later in the podcast, but I think a lot of what separated, for me anyways, for someone like Anderson Silva is the actual physical beauty of the movement, like the flow, the actual flow of the movement, and how easy he makes it look. Where, I mean, GSP, Fedor, they make it look easy in a different way, but the flow was there. You know?
He like entered a flow state as soon as he walked in, or he is already in a flow state, and he would like dive under. He would like slip all these punches. It was amazing.
Yeah, the
like
slipping.
it would just
incredible.
like raise his cheek, and he would almost smile at you. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, now you're in my range. And then he would just like 1-2 and you're done.
Yeah.
It was insane. His vision.
Yeah.
In MMA.
And that's why it hurts so much. You know, when the downfall was just so hard to see, man, with that guy.
Yeah.
You know, he's doing that, then he just gets clocked, and then he broke his leg and like all that stuff. So
yeah, he just,
it
went down, and I was like, oh, but if you lived through that era, and like UFC Fight Pass has all those fights on there, highly recommend. If you're coming up in like striking or MMA or even like any of that, and you want to see beautiful destruction, that's Anderson Silva.
Yeah, that was a thing to behold, like truly a thing to behold. So what was the first time that you, like, in your own jiu-jitsu timeline, that you really had a eye-opening realization when you were like, oh man, there's levels to this?
One of the things that like really opened my eyes, I went up to Complete Fitness up in St. Albert, and I was I think I was I was like a mid-level blue.
Okay.
And I was rolling with a guy up there, and he's like maybe $150. So I was about 195. I've always like kind of maintained that, and he just absolutely destroyed me in every aspect of the game.
Yeah.
Like leg locks destroyed me, arm bars destroyed me, headlock destroyed me, and he picked every single route that we went down.
Whoa.
I had like no answers. I was scrambling every single step of the way, and I was like, what is happening? And I think he was a purple at that time. So it wasn't like there was like a giant discrepancy technically in belt.
Right.
In like this like visual aspect.
Yeah.
But when it came time to actually roll on the mats, you just felt it. You just, like, I was blown away at how well he moved in every aspect.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, oh, well, he tapped me to the same leg lock 20 times. That I can kind of dismiss as, well, he specializes in that. Maybe if I went beyond that.
Yeah.
But yeah, in every aspect of the ground game, he whooped my ass, and I was like 40 pounds heavier than him.
Wow.
And then, so that was like seeing like through that door just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took a boogeyman seminar. So Richie Martinez.
Oh yeah. Boogeyman. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was up at the same club. And I got to roll with him. And I just felt like I was a purple belt at the time. And I've competed every stage, like a lot of white belt, a lot of blue belt, a lot of purple. I've always competed. And yeah, rolling with the highest level guy. He's the highest level guy that I'd ever rolled with up to that point.
Yeah.
And it felt like I was just this little play thing.
Yeah.
And this is after he had done like, I want to say like 12 6-minute rolls.
Yeah.
So he'd been rolling for an hour at least with all these other guys, all these other really good guys. Then I got in there, and still felt like I had zero answers. He darced me like probably in 6 minutes, I want to say probably about 15 times.
Wow.
He just destroyed me.
Incredible.
And then at the end, he was like, oh yeah, you're pretty good. I was like, yeah, I don't think so. I feel like I'm going to go cry now. Like in the bathroom. Like I loved it. I loved how much that was. But man, I just felt outclassed.
Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, okay, like
I got some work to do.
Yeah. And it's like, I'd rolled with black belts to that point.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was below them.
Yeah.
And like, there's steps ahead of me, but he was a world-class comp level black belt. Mm-hmm. And then there's like levels to the black belt. Like you're just like, oh yeah, black belt, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
World class is just out of this world. It's crazy how good he is.
That's wild. Yeah. And then like Yeah, I've seen that guy get beaten by people, and so it's like, and that's no slight whatsoever. It's just a connecting to the fact that no matter how good someone is, there's often, in almost every case, there's someone still yet better.
Yeah. And he was like, another level. And then there's some people that are just slightly above that. And you're just like, how is that even possible?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's why I love it so much.
Yeah.
Like the problem solving side of things. And then knowing like there's no end.
Yeah.
There's always something that you can get better at. There's always something that you can do.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
But I think it really does. I think when you run into those moments or those people, I've only had a couple times like that, really, because most of my experience has been at this club. But I have done a couple of the seminars and stuff like that, and visiting people too. People who visit the studio, and you're like, oh, it's eye opening, and it gives you a glimpse into where else you can take it. You know,
and that's like, I know we've mentioned it before, but like that's like the grappler syndicates, those mega seminars where you get a whole bunch of people.
Yeah,
like rolling with Oliver Taza.
Yeah.
So I was a black belt when I first rolled with him, and he's a black belt, but he's on another level. Like it's just another stage that he's on, and like he was playing, but you could like if you're experienced enough, you knew that he was just goofing.
Yeah.
Like he was like, oh yeah, let's roll. And then he's just kind of goofing with you. It's
wild.
Yeah,
man.
It's crazy. I love it.
And there's no end to the ego destruction either, like it's, it comes from all sides too, like you can roll with a white belt from somewhere else, maybe not a white belt, but like a blue belt or a, similar rank from somewhere else or from some other club or some other whatever, that you're all of a sudden you're like, oh, I just got humbled by that guy,
There's Gino. He's a Champions Creed black belt. He runs Bow River Jiu Jitsu in Calgary.
Okay.
And so he's just this old dude that when I was getting my blue belt, he was one of the black belts in the lineup that like you had to like roll against.
Oh yeah.
That guy tuned me up, and I'm like, you're so old. You're like the oldest dude ever. And
like, how old are you talking about?
I think he was like 56 at that time. He's in his 60s now.
Yeah.
And he just kind of like, I was like, oh, I'm this comp level. Like, I've submitted blue belts. What's this old guy going to do? So I came in hot, and he's just like, pop, like just launched me onto my back, held me there, didn't let me move, squished me. I felt emasculated. I felt just destroyed. But at that time, I was like, oh, well, he's just a black belt. Like, oh, he's just this. But it wasn't like that. That level, like I didn't understand what he was doing.
Yeah. And so that's a good segue. Or unless did you want to say something else about that? Good. Because I think what I was hoping to get into today, one of the things I was hoping to get into is what are those sort of like the invisible aspects of levels that people don't, it's sure, 400 moves, good for you. Or you the pathways between moves, or you're technically good, but what are the pressure is a really good example of one of those invisible aspects of levels that it feels like magic. You're like, what is happening right now?
Gino has that. Like, he has that. He definitely has the pressure. It's like, you're this old dude. You shouldn't have that much pressure. He has that much pressure, and like he can just sit in like your closed guard, sit there and like manipulate you, open your guard and move around. The only thing, like once I started getting up there, like I was probably like mid purple, and then I was like really into leg locks. I was like, I'm gonna grab this old man's leg, I'm gonna get him this time. I thought I almost had it,
Yeah.
But then he like shucked me off and he's like, oh, that was pretty good. But now I'm going to squish you. And he squished the shit out of me again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so pressure is one of those things that it's hard to describe how to do. You can be like, okay, pinpoint here,
Yeah.
kind of do this. It's at this kind of angle.
Yeah.
It's until you feel your body do it. And that's that feel. So feeling jujitsu is another one of those invisible things.
Yeah.
A great way to start to understand that in my experience is to closed eyes rolling.
Yeah.
So you close your eyes and then you're not like grabbing at things. You're just completely shutting off that sense. So now you have to feel your way through it. You have to feel your opponent's weight where they are.
Yeah.
You're never going to sweep someone unless you understand where their weight is.
Yeah.
And if all you're doing is looking at where they're at, it can be deceiving. Right. So then you do closed eyes rolling and now you're starting to feel it. And so if you ever have like the space on the mats, always recommend closed eyes rolling. Yeah.
Not when there's 20 people on the mats rolling.
Yeah, probably not when like you're going to get clipped by a heel.
Yeah.
But you can also like take turns with your partner. Be like, hey, I'm going to close my eyes. Just be aware you're the one watching out for us.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it's cool to see the dynamic between someone that has their eyes closed and someone that has their eyes open.
Yeah. It was probably a year and a half, maybe a bit more. We were doing we did that a few classes and I actually really enjoyed that. We should do that some more. Another one is timing. And you know, we had a conversation, I don't know, it would have been a while ago now about what it takes to get to purple belt. And one of the things that you mentioned is like the metronome idea of like, and I know that's only a small component of timing, but like, you know, continuing to be active, move like a metronome, but also like knowing when to move, knowing when not to move, knowing when to be still, knowing when to use your partner's, your opponent's motion against them. Like the timing is a big invisible factor, I think.
The motion and understanding like your motions and their motions and when to time, like you're using strength, even like when to time to like bridge hard, when to time to swing your legs. Understanding that portion of it, I feel comes with time. It comes with understanding like the games in jiu-jitsu where you can play like close guard games or guard passing games. Then you can get that timing down. Oh, they're coming through, and rather than them just passing your guard and then you being like, oh, they passed my guard, and now it's my turn. Yeah, being like, they're gonna pass the guard, so I'm gonna proactively step into something.
This is a kind of a I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Sasquatch, right? Like, can you be good at jiu-jitsu without being smart?
Now, you can.
Please, God.
Yeah.
Please say yes. Please say yes.
You definitely can. There's ways to go about it. And it all depends on the jiu-jitsu that you want to play.
Right. Like Husimar, whatever his name is. I can't imagine that guy's smart.
He doesn't seem very like he's not going to recite poetry to you.
Right. Oh.
But yeah, maybe. Who knows? But if you were to talk to him and be like, hey, how do you blow apart this leg in 50 different ways? He'd be like, oh, you do this. Right. You could probably list off a million ways on how to break a leg.
Fair. Yeah, fair.
So it's kind of like intelligence IQ tests.
Right.
If everything is written on the thing that you have to climb this tree, the monkey's going to be the most intelligent animal.
Right.
And then you get a dolphin looking like an idiot.
Right.
But it's all that kind of thing. But having intelligence definitely helps.
Right.
in the scheme of how do I develop to get better rather than let's inject ourselves and be meatheads.
Right. Well, so timing, pressure. I have grips on here. Grips is a bit of a technical thing, but I think there's like, again, going back to your point about feel, sort of like feeling what works for you and your body. And
there's so many different grips too. So understanding what ones work for your hands, for your reach, and when to take them.
Yeah.
How to strip grips.
Yeah.
All this stuff comes down. It might not be invisible and you can drill it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But understanding a good grip from a bad grip.
Right.
That takes feeling. Like a good grip, not like cross collar gripping when you're standing. That like if someone does that to me, I'm like, sweet, I'm halfway to your back. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're same side gripping, then you have at least like something in between you and your opponent to keep you there or keep them there. So there is an understanding in it. I don't know if it'd be invisible or anything like that.
Right.
But you definitely need to understand grip fighting. Grip fighting is probably one of the least utilized things in jiu-jitsu in both gi and no gi.
And we've talked about building your own game too in past episodes, and I think a big part of that invisible thing is understanding who you are. Like that Gino guy, he knows what he's good at. He knows how his own game. He knows
he's too damn old to do the funky stuff. So he's just exceedingly good at the basics.
Yeah.
Like he is like light years ahead of a lot of people in the basics because the basics aren't drilled that much anymore.
Right.
Flashy is the new cool kind of thing. So people are doing the flashy stuff. Whereas then you look at his basics and you're not going to be barabullying him because he just doesn't let you get there. He won't
let you get there. Yeah. And I know we talk about this all the time, but I feel compelled to mention it.
The Emmett show.
The Emmett show.
Damn it.
No, is just the idea, the seeing red guy, it's like there, if there's levels to this, the seeing red guy is below the lowest level.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know that there's
subpar.
Yeah. He doesn't even know that there's a level to begin with. It's like, oh, bro, I'm just going to throw hands. It's like, okay, well, Gino, who's 68 years old, is going to fucking dismantle you.
Yeah.
And
laugh about it. The seeing red bro dude is, oh man. And it's so funny because the more you look at like street fights and stuff, you're just like, and the more trained that you are, and the more that you see the street fights, you're just like, wow, you can see that punch a mile away. Even if all you do is jiu-jitsu and you've never done striking, you can be like, okay, that guy is bringing his hand all the way down to his hip. Boy, I wonder what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, oh, I'm just going to bum rush him, shoot in, get close, choke his ass out or break his leg.
Yeah.
On that note, some little teenage girl was getting attacked and broke her attacker's leg.
Yeah, his ankle, right?
Yeah.
And that's so awesome.
So good. And that's a shout out I don't know who that is, but that's awesome. And that's a little like, get your kids into jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a little segue here. Honestly, so often jiu-jitsu is this like hobby for kids. Like all these parents are like, oh, they're going to be in hockey and swimming, in soccer, in these real sports, right? And like martial arts is this side hobby.
Right.
Get your kids into martial arts. Get your kids into jiu-jitsu. It's not just a hobby. It can be a lifelong sport that they're actually going to be getting real world benefits out of. Yeah. Just look at how many people that start hockey get into the NHL, get paid.
Yeah. 0.0001
it's insane.
Or something.
Like just read the outliers and he lays it all out for you. But like get them into jiu-jitsu, and those skills that they're going to learn, they might not be world champion jiu-jitsu people, but they're going to have world-class problem-solving skills.
Yeah.
Get them into jiu-jitsu. It's not the side sport bullshit that people are like,
yeah.
It's a legit sport. Get them in.
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to mention it on the podcast because I'll forget if I don't. It has nothing to do with the podcast. A couple of different parents have asked me about a kid's punch card. Because there's so much kids activities going on that they can't commit to,
Tell them to just come talk to me.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm open to building the community, but if it's a parent that's like, oh, I just want to do it once or twice,
right,
that's going to turn their kid off of martial arts because they're never going to get better.
Yeah. Specifically what they were saying is I can commit to a day a week, but I can't commit to 2 days. Because, there's just kids these days are in like swimming, soccer,
I know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They're treating it as a side hustle, a side sport, or a side hobby.
They treat everything as although my daughter's in gymnastics and she does it like 9 hours a week. So that's not a side. That's a committed sport.
But people go into hockey and they're committed to it.
Yeah,
people go into soccer and they're committed to it.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
People go into jiu-jitsu as a side hobby.
Right, another thing on the side, yeah.
Yeah, rather than being like, oh, they're in jiu-jitsu. And we have kids in and they're just like, this is awesome. This is the thing. And that comes with like the coaching and it comes with the culture, but it's also like a lot of the parents. They're like, okay, well, we're going to take you out now because now it's hockey season.
Right.
And the kid doesn't want to leave, but the parent goes, well, it's not a real thing kind of thing.
Yeah.
It is. And that little girl breaking that dude's ankle, hell yeah, good on her.
Oh, man, so awesome. So, we have talked about it a little bit on the podcast, although I don't think we ever actually fully got it right. So I looked it up. Those 4 stages of competence, where it's unconscious competence. Oh, sorry, unconscious.
We're still not going to get it right.
Unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and then unconscious competence. So the seeing red bro guy is unconscious incompetent. He doesn't even know that the skill sets exist to properly defend yourself.
Is that ignorant incompetence?
I don't know. I mean,
I would say that.
Like, you think there's one even lower than unconscious incompetence? Oh, yeah.
Because
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Unconscious incompetence would be you don't know anything and you just hope for the best.
Right.
Whereas ignorant incompetence is
like,
I can beat you. I've never thrown a punch in my life.
Well, and so I think what you're bridging over into there is the other thing we've mentioned on the podcast before, which is the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like the dumber you are about something, the more skilled you think you are at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's like those people online that like spout off about how smart they are. If you're actually smart, you don't have to say that you're smart.
Well, same with honest. People who are like, I'm the most honest guy you're ever going to meet. Alarm bells.
Yeah.
Like, if you're telling me you're honest, I am running away because you're
funny. Are you? Like, all this shit when you have to tell me.
I am a charismatic leader of a jiu-jitsu club.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Anytime you have to tell me something or you like post online that I'm this.
Yeah. But conversely too, as soon as people say I'm not something, they also are that. Yeah. Like, look, I'm not racist, but you're like, dude, I know the next thing out of your mouth is going to be horrible.
Yeah, it's going to be something racist.
Yeah, like I'm not stupid, but yeah. So, but yeah, that 4 stages of competence thing, I think there's
one lower, and that's the IC Red Bro. I don't know what the stage is, but there is a stage lower than this, and it's IC Red Bro.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like in those 4 categories, I think you almost have to be getting into conscious competence to start seeing the upper levels of unconscious competence, like to notice them. Because you know how you were saying, like, when you were rolling with Oliver Taza, and it's like, you know, because you're at a reasonably high level, he's just playing with me.
Yeah.
But like, if you're a brand new white belt, or even probably a blue belt,
I'd say up to purple,
you're just sort of like, I'm getting hurt right now. This sucks.
Well, yeah, and I would agree. You have to have that understanding of where they're at.
Yeah.
Where you're at and where they're at.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit. When, I think like, because with Boogeyman, I knew that he was better than me.
Mm-hmm.
I just, now that I look back on it, I'm like, holy shit, was he so much better than me?
Yeah.
But in the time, I was like, just don't get darsed. I was in my head.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to get darsed by the guy that darses everyone. And that was like my whole game plan. And then you just darce the shit out of me. And then after like the fifth one, I was just like, well, I'm just going to play. And I got darsed a whole bunch more. And I think he tried to go-go me. And then I did like a weird wipeout spazzy shit because I was like, no. Like, anything but that. But yeah, I think probably like mid to late purple is a good like little idea. I know that we weren't going to say by belts, but like that idea of like 5-6 years in the game. Yeah. Unless you're like training every day with pros and you have like that insight. But if you're just the average jiu-jitsu person, like that 5 to 6 years is probably when you can start to tell a little bit about the levels.
Yeah. You know, I always bring in like surfing metaphors, but I remember being I forget where I was. It was somewhere in Indonesia, and I was kind of like in a spot where, first of all, it was like a remote island, like reasonably remote island, that you had to take like a propeller plane to get to, and then drive to some coast, and then like there's one tiny hotel there. And so paddling out, I'm like not the bravest person to begin with, but I'm paddling out. It's like kind of big for me, and I'm sort of like, well, I really hope I just don't get hurt, you know, and like really hope I can like catch a couple of the smaller ones. And this Australian surf guide was there, like with his client or whatever, and he was like, you know, hey mate, how are you? Like, I'm whatever his name was.
Kangaroo
like,
Jack.
Yeah. Have you ever fought a kangaroo? But I was like, and he's like, you know, we're kind of chatting, and he's like, oh, hold on a second, mate. And he like goes way out because there's a set coming. I see him catch this wave that's humongous. And he's just doing like the most effortlessly elegant turns, you know, like putting spray up, and then like just pops back, and he's like, yeah, anyways, mate. Like, and I'm just like, dude, how did you do that? Like, I didn't say that. I was like, hey man, you know, but like, when
you just like roll up your jaw, you're like, oh
yeah. And like when you come face to face with those people who have spent their whole life getting great at something and have the ability and have the know-how, it like, there's one side of it that's like really inspiring, and then there's another side of it that's kind of soul crushing, because you're like, I'm never gonna be that good. You know,
it's such an interesting dynamic when you see people like that, or in our case, roll with people like that, or see a live roll right in front of you. And you're just like Mika Galvao.
Yeah.
I swear that guy's a witch or something. Like, he just he must turn off gravity. I don't know. I when I was watching him at ADCC, the dude would just like move, and then he was on the back. And like, we're watching it live. We don't have instant replay, but I'm watching it with my eyes, and I didn't understand.
Yeah.
And I've been in this game like 15 years. Like, I've been watching, and that's like pretty much all I do. Like, I just watch jiu-jitsu, wrestling, sumo, all these like just martial arts. And watching him move, I was just like, I don't get it. And I looked over at Carter, and he was just like, his eyes were just like, what is this? Because we were both watching him, and I don't know.
Inexplicable.
Yeah. And it was just insane, amazing, spectacular to watch.
Yeah.
This young kid, and he's like 20.
Yeah.
He's super young. And he turns off gravity. That's what we came up with. We're like, okay, he's got an anti-gravity device somewhere in his. The one thing I didn't enjoy was that entire team. It's a no-gi event, and they wore their black belts. I'm like, what? Oh, yeah. It was like really off-putting.
Yeah.
You see that, and you're like, ick.
Like while rolling?
Yeah, they wore them out to ADCC. It was super weird, and like, I think everybody when the first person from that team did it, everyone like looked at each other like, ugh. Like,
but maybe that's a head game, a mind game.
I don't know, because like everybody that was competing at that level is a black belt,
right?
Pretty much,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
you're there. But yeah, it was super off-putting. I didn't like that, but watching him move, I was like, well, wear your belt, because I'm an idiot and I don't know what the hell's going on.
That's wild. I want to skip ahead in our notes here a little bit, and we can come back to some of these other things, because I think, like, for me, the really interesting part about the whole levels thing is getting to the flow state where you're kind of, you've lost the necessity to consciously think. That's that unconscious competence. Like, you've lost the necessity to think through everything, and you're flowing through your whatever the activity is.
I love it in jiu-jitsu. I find that in competing. I remember watching it's an old movie, well, older. I think it's called Driven. It's with like Sylvester Stallone when he's like an F1 driver.
Yeah.
And he starts humming.
Yeah.
And that's how he gets in, like, when he's humming, he's in the zone.
Yeah.
And it always comes back to, like, in my head, because I start just kind of like grooving out to, it's not even a real song.
Right.
It's just a song in my head that I'm grooving out to.
Baby Shark, right?
Yeah. Yeah, right. I think it's probably, I don't even know where it's from. Like, if I ever heard it out in the world, I'd be like, okay, who's in my brain right now? Like, but
oh man,
it's just a weird rhythm that I always like play around with in my head. And when I feel that, I feel the best on the mats.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can just move, and like, feels good. And I try to hit that every single time. It doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm too in my head. I have too many other things going on. But yeah, I always strive for that.
Yeah, to get into that flow state.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I think, not to harp on the seeing red, bro, but like, beginners, it's so hard. And I don't mean in just jiu-jitsu, I mean in anything, right? It's so hard as a human being, I think, to get to that level in anything where you can hit a flow state, that I'd wager that the percentage of people out there who have truly entered a flow state in something is like,
it's minimal,
like maybe 1%,
Yeah, I'd go it's super low. A good and I'm dating myself with these movies, but have you ever seen the movie Hackers? Like that old 90s movie?
Yeah.
But it shows a flow state in that movie when he's hacking in and he's just zoned in, and everything's around him's just in fast it's just like typing away kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's in that flow state. And I remember watching that as a kid, and I was like, huh. And it kind of made me think, like, when I play hockey, like, just kind of, I'm not exerting energy, but
Yeah.
That's the way I want to go, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was weird that I made a correlation that early on in like development. Usually it takes a long time, but I watched that movie and I was like, in my head, I was like, I should be a hacker. And then I was like, I hate all electronics, like everything other than Mario Kart. Like anything above that, I'm out. But then I took that and I was like, the way that he just kind of flowed in that is how I feel when I get put on my skates,
right,
put a stick in my hands and I can just go and I don't have to deal with any of the bullshit around me. I can just deal with what's right in front of me.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, I think, to get into that flow state, it's not just you. I mean, unless maybe you're that experienced and that talented and that amazing.
I am that guy.
You are that guy.
I am. Thank you for at least noticing. I love it.
I've been meaning to tell you for a while.
Yeah. That third stripe's still going to be a ways away. You don't know Dragon Ball Z.
No, I really, really think you're awesome, man. But like kind of all the circumstances have to kind of align, like you have the right, if we're talking about jujitsu, like the right opponent on the right day, you're in the right sort of mindset. You're not too tired. You're feeling strong. You're not injured. And
what's not injured?
Yeah. But so
not talking to the right guy here.
But I think like to really get into that flow state, a lot of things have to align.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a song.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a song comes on and you're just like, huh. And you're like, I don't know, your body grooves to it. And like,
yeah,
I've found that I've rolled with a few people where they just kind of turn off their brain when they hear a good song that they like. And yeah. And you can feel it in them. You can feel like they're like finally relaxing and moving through the motions and moving the way that their body should.
Yeah.
Rather than thinking of how it should.
Right. And I think that also comes with confidence and comfort, and like that's why as a white belt you're never gonna get there, because there's even something to be said about like fear versus comfort. You're like I don't want to get hurt. I don't know what's happening. I can't breathe. It's only once you get to that level of like comfort, confidence, where the word that kind of keeps popping up for me is like transcendence, where you can like transcend the
noise.
Yeah, everything. You're the thought, the noise, yourself.
One mind. Miyamoto Musashi talked about it like in The Way. Like he's like, just be one mind about things. Too many minds, too many things out here, too many things you're thinking about at home, you're thinking about work, you're thinking about. For me, like as a mechanic, it would have been like you're thinking about that shitty engine that's in that shitty Dodge that's sitting on my bench, like that I have to repair, and everything's went wrong, and then too many minds.
Yeah.
Right? Put that on a leaf, send it down the river. That's gone.
Yeah.
Deal with it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Stay in the moment. And that's why I absolutely love reading so much, like Miyamoto, Stoicism, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Is it brings me back to, oh yeah, that shit on the outside, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Deal with it, what's right in front of you. Deal with having to talk to Emmett all the time.
For hours on end.
But that's one of the ways that you can kind of start to develop that, especially if you're like white or blue.
Yeah.
And you don't understand it, come into it with an open mind and just have one pure focus. Try to get that pure focus in jiu-jitsu while you're rolling. And
by that, do you mean like set a goal for each roll or whatever?
It can be, or it can be stop thinking about what they're going to do to you. Stop thinking about, oh, did I leave the tap on? If you left some shit on at home, maybe think about it. But you should come into it thinking, I'm going to do jujitsu. Maybe it's a goal. Maybe it's get to the back. But then again, if you're like, I'm big on setting goals and stuff like that. But if you're trying to enter a flow state, you're not going to be able to get it if you're looking at a goal, because you're chasing something, right?
Right.
It's come into it. If you're looking at just getting that flow state roll, come in to do jujitsu.
Right.
Not come in and try to get the back this many times, control the back.
Right.
Because then you're like too many minds again. You're like, am I controlling this? Am I controlling that? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? How do I get there? If you want to enter that flow state, you got to come in with, I'm just going to come in, I'm going to roll, and I'm going to like just vibe with that kind of thing. But that's only to get to that flow state. When you're in that flow state, you're rarely learning.
Yeah.
Right? You're just in a state where you're subconsciously just moving through it, and it's beautiful. But you're not learning. If you want to come in and learn, you're never going to enter. I don't think that you'll ever enter a flow state because it's counterproductive.
But I think you have to have a certain level of mastery, even if it's like getting past white belt, let's call it that. But like you have to have some technique and some mastery under your belt in order to really flow. Like you can, you know, like one of the things we have here in our notes is about, so I actually hadn't heard this one before. It's from Japanese martial arts. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation here, but shuhari, and it's obey the rules, break them, and transcend them. And like the kind of equivalent that I had heard of before is from like Taoism and Zen, which is Wu Wei. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
It's the concept of like I guess you'd say like effortless action.
Okay, so one mind.
Yeah, it's all different ways of saying the same thing.
Yeah.
But like real mastery means acting without forced effort. But in order to do that, you have to have some technique. In if we're talking about jiu-jitsu, you have to have some technique under your belt.
Definitely. And that's why, and I would assume that's why it's so hard for people of lower levels to hit any kind of flow state. Because they don't have any kind of mastery. They don't have, it goes beyond techniques. They don't have any mastery over their own body. They don't know what the hell their own body's capable of or what it's able to do in like strenuous situations.
Yeah.
So I 100% agree with that. There's ways to build up to it at that early stage with having that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Will you ever hit it? Probably not. That's just how it is. On that note, I would love to hear if you have. I mean,
experienced a flow state.
Yeah. Shoot us a comment. Shoot us when you started feeling that. Like, let us know, like, at what level. Let's go by belts, or like in a competition, like when you felt it or whatever. I'd be interested. I actually want to hear from our viewers, see what they say. But as I think that'd be exceedingly hard as a white, blue, even purple to hit that. I bet that there are some people that can. Yeah, the Emmett.
I mean, a lot of people say that they can see me in that flow state a lot of times. So
it's just him breathing hard after a hard roll. He's in a flow state.
Yeah. I do think like you get tastes of it. You know, like I definitely have had. It depends on the day, you know, like I've had days where I'm like, oh, that felt really good. And I was able to kind of just move through a few things seamlessly, few and far between, but
every single day,
but you get tastes of it. And I think that's one of the things that keeps you going, right? Is you get the taste of it and you're like, oh, I want that, but for an hour, not just 10 seconds.
Chip. Yeah. It's like you want the whole cookie, but you just got this little nibble of a chocolate chip and you're like, oh, that was awesome. Yeah.
So the other term that kind of came up, and I first heard about this term, there's a surf documentary called Zen and Zero, and it's about like this, I think the guy was like a drug dealer or something, and he went down to Costa Rica back in the day and like set up shop there and just like surfed his life away. So winning, but there's a tiny chunk in that documentary where they talk about this thing that comes from flamenco guitar culture, that flamenco music, right?
Yep.
That they say that when the musician is able to truly lose themselves in the music, and like all their like passion and all their intensity and all their skill and everything just like starts flowing, and they completely like abandon their self to the music. They call it duende, and it's like this enhanced, I guess you could call it like enhanced flow state that takes into the takes into account like passion and intensity and all that kind of stuff. So yeah,
I think that you probably see hints of that in like guitar solos or drum solos, kind of
sure.
You see a lot of drummers
just
like,
losing themselves in it. Yeah.
And it's not part of any song you've ever heard. It's not part of the song that they're doing.
Yeah.
But they're giving it. They're and like Travis Barker, I've seen kind of get into it, and he just goes off on stuff, and you're just like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then you got like Eric Clapton, like as a guitar, like just some of the stuff that he can pull off.
Yeah.
And then I remember my grandpa had an old VHS of like interview with him, and he was asked about it, and he's like, "Oh, I was just going with it. I just went with it."
Just went with it.
And like just that phrase, I was like, "Oh man, how amazing must that feel like?" And like I was like 5 or 6 or something like that when and it's stuck in my head. Like he's like, "Oh yeah, I just went with it."
Yeah.
And like he's just grooving out and unbelievable.
Yeah.
And like my grandpa was a huge fan of any guitarist. Like,
oh really?
All of them, like Jimi Hendrix. Like he would get into it. Like, and I knew nothing. I didn't have the
context or whatever.
Yeah, or the mental capacity. It never like I like drums.
Oh, I see what you mean.
I didn't have the capacity to be like, oh yeah. But I remember watching him, and just his interest in this made me kind of go, okay, well, this is something amazing that's happening here.
Yeah.
And then you watch and you're like, that's not part of the song, because he'd always have like these old songs, all these old cassettes playing.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's not part of the song.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, it's kind of, it kind of groove to it, and you don't even know what the hell it is.
Yeah. There's a Led Zeppelin, it's like a live album, like it's like a concert. I think they made a movie out of it. I think it's called The Song Remains the Same. And Jimmy Page, the Led Zeppelin guitarist, like there's a few sections in that where it's like, dude, what is happening right now? And it's just mind blowing. And you can listen to it 400 times and still be like, what?
Yeah. It's like Spinal Tap.
Yeah, exactly like Spinal Tap. But like, I think
if we got Led Zeppelin, we got Spinal Tap.
Man, I gotta watch Spinal Tap again. That's such a funny movie.
They kind of invented. I feel like they invented their own genre with that. This is Spinal Tap.
Man, I gotta watch that again. That's worth watching.
It's worth watching. Like I watched it as a kid, and then I watched it as an adult, and I was like, okay, yeah, I get way more out of it as an adult.
Yeah, I gotta watch that.
Knows a little bit.
There's another one coming out.
No, there's not.
There's a Spinal Tap 2 coming out.
No, there's not.
There is, yeah.
How is there a Spinal Tap 2?
There is, yeah. All those guys are still around, so. But like
the 19 bass guitarists.
That was so funny. But like I think about that a lot. I mean,
Spinal Tap?
Yeah, Spinal Tap. No,
Spinal Tap 2.
Spinal Tap 2.
Knew it.
I think about how rewarding it must be to be that world class. Like, not even world class is not the right word. It's like how rewarding it must be to be just that, have that deep an understanding of something,
it's incredible. And like I'm gonna say it again, but Miyamoto Musashi talks about it in The Five Rings.
I got something to say about that in a second, but please continue.
But about like that unbelievable pinpoint accurate like understanding of certain things is the way. I love it. It's great.
Let me come back to 5 rings in a second. I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the show, but there's this have I ever talked about the Japanese carpenter thing? That there's like a, I don't know if you'd call it what's the word for that? Like a story that people tell to, I forget what the word is for that. Anyways, I'll just dive into it. So the idea is that the old Japanese carpenter is building a big house or like a shared, some kind of structure, and the day comes when it's time to like raise the roof beam and like put in the last thing. And have I talked about this before?
No, I was just thinking, raise the roof. No.
And he's so skilled that he has actually already anticipated that a rival carpenter had intended to saw off like 2 inches of the roof beam, and he's already accounted for that in his calculations. He raises it, and it like is raised perfectly, and everything falls into place. So like he knows everything, including how other people are going to try to affect the outcome.
Oh yeah,
and like just being that supremely confident, calm under pressure. You're just being one with your art. You know?
And that, like, you see that. Like you see that in black belts when they're rolling with newer people. They're just like, you get into like, let's say like cross mount. That was a heavy breath.
Yeah. I'm just like, black belts rolling with new people.
But like they get into like a cross mount and like they see that Kimura and they're just like looking at it. They're holding like their one arm, they're holding their other arm, hovering above it, and then they move and he's just like, clink, and grabs the arm. He knows exactly where that arm is.
Yeah.
It's like, you get to roll with so many people so much that you're just like, you know exactly what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, when I'm rolling with like some people, I'm like, oh, they always slide the knee across, and like,
right,
this is exactly what they're doing. And then like they're like, oh, why are you covering up your nuts, kind of thing. It's like, because you always slide your knee across and it clips. And then I'm like, that hurts. I'm not going to allow that. I'm going to put my hand over it so that it doesn't get clipped, and then we're good to go.
Yeah. You're predictable.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, you just know how it is. But I love that. I love rolling with the people that you're just like, you know how to manipulate them. Coming back to like that intro, you're just walking down a hallway.
Yeah.
Right. I relate most of my jujitsu to chess, but walking down a hallway and you're just like leading the person, and you're like, yeah, you're not going down that door. You close it. Yeah, you're not going down that door. You close it. You close it before they even know that there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And then when you finally get to the place that you want, you're like, here you go.
Yeah.
What do you think about this room? Do you like this room?
And yet you keep insisting that it's not a trap.
It's always a trap.
So I'm getting mixed messages here.
I say that so people move.
Yeah, not just like hold still.
Like, I'm just gonna stay here because I know it's a trap. It's like, oh, I need you to move so I can do my stuff.
Yeah, it's really, I don't know. It's something to aspire to. As a person who didn't really start jiu-jitsu until they're 45, it's like, again, a little heartbreaking to be like, man, I wish I would have started this when I was 10. But,
everybody, man, that's everybody's like mantra. Man, I wish I would have started this when I was younger.
Mm-hmm. So the other thing that I wanted to kind of get into is like, and we're kind of already talking about it, but what mastery feels like. We were talking about that the other day. and I can only guess.
They're not good guesses.
Yeah. Feel like I have had glimpses of that flow state, and I think I'm getting to mastery level in a couple things in my life. But in jiu-jitsu, I'm obviously a blue belt. So, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting for me to think about what does mastery feel like. And
I think that but you can catch glimpses of it when you're rolling with someone like newer, and you're like, I know what they're going to do here. So I'm going to stop it before it happens. So you're already looking at, like, let's say a chessboard. You're already looking at that one move before they already do it. And you're like, okay, they're going to move that pawn up. I know that they're going to move that pawn.
Yeah.
Or you bait them. You're like, here's that one. Here's this one. And then, like, if you're just listening, I'm playing chess by myself because Emmett doesn't know how. But, like, you're setting them up, and you're setting them up for your next move.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that you've done that. I've watched you do it. You're not reacting to them.
Right.
You're setting them up for the next move.
Right.
And then
really, have I?
Yeah. I didn't know.
Sounds good, I guess.
But then you go a little bit further, and in my mind, it's always the move after the move after the move. And it's like, how many moves can you predict that they're gonna do ahead of time?
Yeah.
And I think that's for my mind, that's where I go to, how do you really understand what you're doing?
Yeah.
How many moves can you predict ahead?
Yeah. Yeah. And so do you think someone who's like, I don't know, I guess I don't know if Mika Galvao is a good example, but maybe like Hodger Gracie, how many moves ahead is that guy thinking?
He probably knows the game, right? He probably knows by the time you sit down at the game,
he's mapped the whole game out.
Yeah. If he wants to play his A game against someone that's lower level, right? He's playing your moves for you.
Yeah.
You're not even touching the pieces on the board. Right? That's like, I can see it, because he's just like, okay, well, I'm going to move here because your only move is going to be this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do this because your only move is this.
There's an episode of that show, that 30 Rock. Did you ever watch that show?
No.
And like, they're negotiating salary, and she's too inexperienced, and he just gets frustrated. He's like, forget it. I'll do both sides of the negotiation. And then she wins because he's doing both sides of the negotiation. He's like, damn it, you won. She's like, I did. But yeah, like that's, that's
essentially what it is, right? And then when you go up against someone closer to your level, then you're kind of like, oh, you're half a move's ahead kind of thing.
Right.
Or half a move behind.
Right.
And it works both ways. That's what's so beautiful about it, is there's always levels to it, and the levels are, can you go further, or are you always behind? Are you always trailing? And there's always that Hail Mary. But it's a Hail Mary for a reason, right? It rarely ever happens. Rarely ever hits.
Yeah.
Sometimes you surprise them.
Yeah.
And for myself, the most surprising things come from the people that have never done jiu-jitsu, and they just because they don't play the game.
I know they're not playing the game. Yeah.
And elbows and shit come out of nowhere, and you're just like, oh yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're so like in your own head and space that you forget what's back there, and then it's a real quick reality check.
Yeah.
Of going, oh yeah, I got to keep my hands up, because brand new people don't know what the hell to do with their hands.
Yeah.
And
it's weird rolling with brand new people, man. It's so weird because like
there's zero pressure. There's all the distance management is off,
and there's no engagement sometimes. So like you'll be waiting for them to get, and then they're just like over here. Like, what are you doing over come back. What are you doing all the way over there?
Yeah, why are you running around me in a big circle? This does not make any sense.
What's happening? It's like you're playing chess and they're playing checkers, you know?
Dude, they're not even on a checkerboard. They're just like rolling up to the seat or something.
It's weird.
Weird. But I think that's the coolest thing is when like they just do weird shit because they're like, I don't know. And you're like, me neither, because I've never seen that in my entire life. What are you doing?
Oh man. That stage that we were talking about, unconscious incompetence, when you first roll up to the gym, the jiu-jitsu gym, and you come in and like I want to like be more observant of people as they start and like what they're like when they may come in, because I know a couple things. I'm like, never, of course, not like disrespectful or like thinking I could really do anything amazing, but definitely didn't know how hard I was going to get humbled over and over again and continue to be. Yeah, Danny showed you. Carter, Danny definitely was like, yeah. But I mean, you must have seen that hundreds of times. People showing up and being like,
probably at about 1,000 times by now. At least like we're in the valley. There's a crazy amount of turnover.
Yeah.
There's a crazy amount of people that are just traveling and are here for 6 months, maybe a year. And they're like, I've never tried it. Now's the time because I'm experiencing all this new stuff.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I love seeing my favorite thing is putting a brand new person in X guard.
Okay.
Because you just levitate them.
Yeah.
They feel like I've talked to them afterwards and they're like, some kind of weird black magic bullshit. And you're like, well, I just kind of lifted you with my legs. And they're like, well, I'm like 230 pounds. Yeah, that doesn't matter. And like,
legs are stronger than arms.
Yeah, and you're just and you're just holding them there and they can't do anything. Like, you just have a full X and their feet are off the ground and they can't move.
Yeah.
That's my absolute favorite thing to do with them. Or butterfly guard, and that's probably why we're so good at butterfly and X guard, because that's all I do to like brand new people, and that's all they start with. Yeah. But like to have that, like I would love to see jiu-jitsu through my very first eyes again.
Yeah.
I think that'd be surreal.
And that is, I mean, I think that's an important part of progression too, is always trying to see it with new eyes and always being open to learning things, right?
Definitely. I think that's what progresses people the fastest.
But by the way, I think I blew it trying to get a new student in. Because Rosie's gymnastics, one of the instructors over there. Did you hear me telling that to Danielle today? She comes up to me today and she's like, I heard you're a jiu-jitsu guy. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. Sure. Who told you that? And she's like, oh, well, Rosie. I'm like, oh yeah, obviously. And then she's like, so is it a good workout? And I'm like, well, everything hurts all the time. So, and she was like, oh, like instantly her dreams of trying jiu-jitsu were crushed. I'm like, I should have been like, oh, it's really good for your core and it's very pleasant.
Your legs will get a workout.
Yeah. Your joints will get a workout.
You'll feel really stretched after.
Yeah.
This guy, I tell you.
Is it a good workout? I'm like, I don't know. I'm in pain all the time. So yeah.
Third stripe just keeps getting further and further.
Damn it. I think she's going to come here though.
Can you imagine he rolls in with like a wad of cash. It's like, what got you here? Oh, what does the note say? I really want to be here.
And like, I'm holding a gun to her back. Yeah. So I did say at the outset of the episode that we wouldn't talk about belts, but how does it align with the levels thing, or is it separate?
Well, nowadays it's hard to say because I feel like jiu-jitsu is becoming much more no-gi heavy.
Yeah.
So you get these guys that are white belts,
technically
quotation marks around that. But they've been training like 6 years. Yeah. Right? And then you're like, okay. But like, I guess if we go off of the like traditional year count, so 1 to 2 years, you're a white belt.
Yeah.
2 to 4 blue, 4 to 6 purple, 6 to 8 brown,
Yeah.
8 to 10 black.
Yeah.
If we go off of that and the average person, like you're as a white belt, you're definitely level 1. Like the incompetent, what is it?
Unconscious incompetence.
Yeah. And like you just don't understand anything and you're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
And then you get to like a couple stripes on that and you're like, oh, I kind of know.
I'm a total fucking badass.
Yeah, I'm a tank. But I'm going to take that tree stump out.
I'm going to pick fights on the freeway.
But like you start to understand a little bit. You start to understand how much you don't understand.
Yeah.
Then by blue belt, for whatever reason, because you got your blue belt, your confidence goes up for most people.
For some people. Yeah.
Unless you start a podcast and you just get pummeled down. Yeah. But your confidence starts going up and you start to kind of a little bit more confidence, but
yeah.
Or I'd say conscious. What is the next one? Sorry.
No. So it's unconscious incompetence.
Yeah. So that'd be like your 1 to 1.5 years kind of thing. How long you're that?
Sure. And then conscious incompetence.
So that's like you're hitting close to blue belt. You understand how much you don't know.
Yeah.
And blue belt, you hit a little spike and you're like, I'm awesome. So you come back to the, what is it? Unconscious
incompetence.
Yeah.
Right.
I would assume like you would come back and you're like, I'm awesome. Then that's when like the purple belts are like,
yeah, no,
you're not. Now we actually get to try on you.
You're a piece of human shit.
Yeah. Because the coach is like, okay, now you can actually go a little bit harder on them.
Yeah.
They're stuck.
Yeah.
You're in the cult. And then once that happens, then you really know. That's when you really start to know how much you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, you start to see a little uptick again.
Yeah.
A purple belt where you're like, oh, okay, I'm starting to get this. But again, you might not know how much. You just think that you are getting there. Yeah. But a competent purple belt, that's when you start to go, okay, I'm starting to understand the levels. I understand what they know that I don't know.
Yeah.
But I understand that I don't know that.
Yeah. I will say, in terms of my own ability, one thing that I have noticed lately is I can like watch a video of a move or something and kind of, for the most part, get it without being like, what? You know, like I'm like, oh, okay, so that goes under there. That this is where it would kind of happen, and like it will still take me 50 tries to get it even remotely right, but I at least understand what I'm watching. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then so I think that's another aspect upon it is watching rather than doing.
Right.
So you have to, like, watching it, you're competent enough to know what's happening. Yeah. You're competent enough to somewhat replicate it.
Yeah.
But to do it in a live role.
And to watch someone who's super high level. And maybe that's I don't know if that would be true of white belts or not, but like or you know, like rank beginners, but I can watch a high level fight and know that there's nothing in there that I can do. You know, like nothing I can do, but like nothing I can do to that level. There's shit I don't understand. There like all kinds of things about it that I'm like, whoa, I know that I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good little turning point too, right? Because if you at least know that, you're conscious of it.
Yeah.
You're conscious of
conscious incompetence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that you can't just go like,
right,
it's here. I think that you hit these little peaks and valleys throughout it. Like in Jiu Jitsu, you always hit peaks, valleys, plateaus, all this stuff. And I think that's what kind of happens. You hit a peak and then you're like, oh yeah, I actually don't know shit. Then you come down.
Yeah.
And then you're like, come back up. You don't know shit. You come back down. And then like end of purple, brown kind of thing. You're like, I don't know shit, but I'm getting better.
Yeah.
And then black belt, you're like, okay, I'm kind of okay. And then you roll with pro black belt.
Yeah.
You're like, God damn it, I don't know shit again.
Yeah.
I'm back down here. And then you start to build up, and it's a beautiful art that way.
And then even at the, like we talked about Israel Adesanya, who's like someone who's even at that level, they get schooled by some guy and they're like, oh shit, there's all kinds of stuff I didn't even think about. I didn't prepare for, I didn't think was going to hurt me. And then, yeah,
it's awesome.
Like imagine seeing like a
Sean Strickland.
Don't get me started on that guy. Like an Israel Adesanya versus a C Red bro. It's like,
oh yeah,
it's like, yeah.
Well, it's those dojo stormers that come into a jiu-jitsu gym and they're like, I just want to take on the coach. And you're like, what the hell? I've had 2 of those guys. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing, buddy? And he's like, oh, well, I heard that you're pretty tough. It's like, who even talks like this?
Yeah, yeah.
And like, it was a small class. Yeah, this is back at the old place. And I was like, oh, who talks like this? Like, it was ridiculous. I've also had people come in and challenge me like in boxing.
Yeah.
And it was when we were over by Sheepdog, and you could smell the alcohol in his breath. I was like, no, I can't do this. Come back.
Yeah.
Come back. No, I bet I could. I was like, you know what? Here's the deal. If you can last 1 full minute on the pads, like just
punching pads.
Yeah. Then I'll put in my mouth guard and we'll go. And then he's like, yeah, I could do that. And I just like threw all the combos. I just made him tire himself out. After like 35 seconds, he was like panting, heaving. He's like, I might have to throw up. I'm like, we're not even like at a minute. The timer hasn't even went off yet. What are you doing? He's like, and then he went and then like went into the bathroom and then like left. I was like, good. It was ridiculous.
That's wild.
And like, meanwhile, like, and this is right before class. So the class is just start warming up as this guy's leaving. And they're like, yeah, that's probably why we train. I was like, yeah, because you don't want that dumbass confidence where you're like, I could take on this guy.
Yeah.
Because if I was to like strap on my gloves, it would be 2 shots.
Yeah.
I don't even think I'd take that. I'd just move. He would tire out. And then he would fall over. And then I would tell him to get up and then I'd punch him a bunch.
So so he came in and what was the first thing he said to you?
He's like, oh, I want to try this. I want to go against you. I was like,
so he was a prospective student or he was just like,
I think he was just like, he had 2 beer in him and he felt confident.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was up there with his buddy. So maybe him and his buddy felt like you got that peer pressure confidence kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude,
no.
And I just kind of laughed at him. I was like, and that's a bad sign. If someone's just sitting there and just like,
yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Like, sure, but that's going to be a bad day for you. And then it was like, I think it was 36 seconds just on this.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, 1, 2. And then like, he wasn't even hitting like the actual punches I was calling.
Yeah.
Because he didn't understand them. I was just like, boom, 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 making him like just move.
Yeah.
Then I made him move around a little bit. And then he was just like,
oh my God, that's hilarious.
Like, oh, dude, if you're, I'm not calling people out, but if you're a person that can't do that for like a few minutes at least, you need to get into a gym or get into something because that's pathetic. Oh man,
that's funny.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to go over today is I did a whole episode about plateaus. But one thing we didn't talk about in that episode is the dip. So the person that I've heard talk about that is Seth Godin. That guy.
He's
that guy. And he talks about the dip, right? Which is like a discouraging valley between initial success and mastery, where you have this huge dip. Like, and I'm guessing maybe you'd equate that in jiu-jitsu to like blue belt blues kind of thing. Yeah. But
I think purple belt hits it hard too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people at purple belt stick at purple belt for a long time.
And like what I've heard said about it is that most people quit right when they're about to hit the next level.
Yeah.
But is that
I think
what you've
that's
seen?
the same about life.
Yeah.
It's that thing where like you see the cartoon where the guy's digging for diamonds and he's like one pickaxe away. And he's like, "Oh, I'm done. I just dug this giant hole," and this other guy's like gung ho and he's ready to go. That's dedication, right? And it's one of those things, and I've seen it where people quit right before, like you see them rolling and they're starting to hit stuff, but they don't see it.
Yeah.
And like you try and encourage them, but by that point, I feel like their mind's already made up.
Yeah.
And if you're even close to that, go talk to your coach. Don't let it sit there and dwell. Don't let it sit there and be like, okay, well, I'm going to give it one more month. And then if I don't do this, blah, 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 or if I still feel this way, I'm out. Yeah. Go talk to your coach. And if he's a good coach, he'll recognize it. And he can be like, okay, well, that's a dumbass thing to say after 1 month. I'm going to quit. Let's build up a game plan. Let's build up your goals to get beyond this. Yeah. Go talk to your coach. A good coach will help you through it. But I think, so many people quit right before you see that. And it's a thing of beauty when you start to see it, because it's not just this, like, usually it's not like this slow rise. It's like, bing, and they start going and like, like Levi hit that. Like, just was like open guard passing and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
And you saw it in him. He was kind of at a plateau. You see him start dipping, and then like he was dipped off a little bit, and then he kept going at this like plateau, like a lower plateau. And then I talked with him. I was like, hey, just try this. Just try to like work in this area. Yeah. And he started doing it. And he started hitting successful stuff. He's like, whoa. And he just like blew up. And you just saw it skyrocket because he stuck with it. And like, it's that motivation versus dedication, right? Right. You can be motivated all you want. Yeah. But once that motivation runs out, you're done. Yeah. You need to be dedicated.
That's what Jocko Willing talks about that a lot. About discipline.
Yeah, on like the what is it, Jocko podcast?
Yeah, but he has a bunch of books too.
Yeah, I've listened to a lot of like the leadership ones.
Discipline equals freedom. Like, that's the one. Discipline equals freedom, where he talks about how motivation is bullshit because it comes and goes. Yeah. But if you're disciplined, then you stick to it. Eventually, you'll get to where you want to be.
Yeah, and it is so true in jiu-jitsu and life and everything. Honestly, if you're running off of just motivation, you're going to hit the end of it, and then you're going to be done with it. You need to be dedicated. You need to, like, if it's something you want, it can't be motivation. Yeah. It has to be dedication.
So, someone told me once, I was going through like and I still have never talked about this on the podcast, and I won't today, but like my insane neighbor, like, and I was just trying to figure out some ways of like, just basically how to handle life at that point. Cause I was so
rear naked choking.
Rear naked, man. I would have paid $5,000 to do that. But, so a person that I was talking to said, you have to make certain things in your life non-negotiable. Whether that's like every morning I go for a run, or once every 2 days I meditate, or you have to make certain things in your life non-negotiable. I make coming to jiu-jitsu minimum 2 times a week non-negotiable. My family knows it. I know it. It's not negotiable. I'm here. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think like that's my form of being disciplined.
Yeah. And I think I said dedication, but discipline.
Yeah. Discipline. Yeah. Similar.
Yeah. Very similar, but discipline in that. And it's kind of like I do my push-ups, I do my sit-ups, and then I do squats. Yeah. And I don't know if I feel it in my body. I feel better. It's probably not the best way to get into like super shape.
Yeah.
But that's not what I'm doing it for. I'm doing it for a form of discipline, a form of dedication to myself.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I don't want to become that weak guy.
Yeah.
Like my body's pretty banged up from hockey, from jiu-jitsu, from fighting, like everything. But I'm not going to be that weak guy that's like hunched over and like when I'm really old kind of thing.
Oh man, what a nightmare.
But I feel like it's so much of a mental side of it, because there was an experiment where they took all these like elderly people, like let's say 70, 75 plus.
Yeah.
And they're like kind of hunched over and stuff like that. And they put them in this little like community. They played old music from when they were in their 20s. They made everything look like from when these older people were in their 20s.
Are you talking about like people dealing with like Alzheimer's or something?
There's another experiment for that, but this was just people like kind of hunched over and looking old.
Yeah.
And then after the experiment, you see them gradually like they start to get better posture. They start to move without like this walker. They start to talk to people with better like linguistic skills kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
that's a bad one to trip up on, but
yeah, I know. Oh, brutal. But they sit there and they start to reform their lives.
Right.
And that's when a lot of people started going, oh, it's not because their body's broken. It's because their spirit's broken. Their mind is broken. This is what they think old people should do.
Yeah.
I used to have a crazy limp because my knee hurt all the time. And I would limp all the time.
Really?
And yeah.
Like not since I've known you.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
One of the youth students actually like commented on it.
Yeah.
And it made me go, holy shit, I do. Like it was unconscious. And they're like, yeah, I want to be badass. So I have like a limp like coach. I was like, pardon me? And then I was like,
huh?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I just said old I always say old shit, but yeah. I sat there, I was like, I get done with that. And then it took probably a good solid month of just in my brain every time I walked, don't limp.
Oh,
don't
really?
Limp.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't like unless I'm injured.
Yeah, sure.
But for now the majority of my life, I don't have to consciously think don't limp. I just don't limp anymore.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I think I just got into this pattern of, okay, I'm injured and I started limping and then it just continued.
Yeah.
And then I was like, nope, done with that bullshit.
Yeah.
And I just started thinking, like I just mentally tried to overcome this because for myself, I didn't want to be that in front of a kid. Like it's hard enough always being injured from competing and not letting it heal. But to be injured and limping and they think it's cool, it's like, no.
Yeah.
It's not cool.
That's like a big reason why I stopped drinking like 4 or 5 years ago. Because I was like, I don't want my kids to ever think that that I think drinking is cool.
Yeah.
Because it's not. It's like a total trap. It's like this trap that people get stuck into where it's like you think Mika Galvao is going out and getting shit-faced on Saturday night? He's fucking training.
Yes. No.
If you want to get to a level in anything, don't start drinking. Because
it's dedication to yourself.
Dedication to yourself. Yeah. I remember someone saying to me, or someone saying to, when I was younger, someone who didn't drink, they were like, oh, you don't drink? Good for you. You'll be able to buy a house. It's like, yeah, people, it's a trap, man. But I think last sort of topic that I was going to mention is just how, we're talking about dedication, discipline. I think a big part of that is being deliberate. That another thing we've mentioned on the podcast a few times is that 10,000 hour rule.
Yep.
but it's like, it's one thing.
I've only ever actually mentioned that once.
Oh, really? Okay. I mean, it's because I think about it a lot, but like, being mindful, being deliberate in your jiu-jitsu practice, whatever that looks like to you, you know, we've covered the methods many times for sure, but drilling with purpose, positional awareness, like having the ability to focus on something short-term, midterm, long-term, that's going to make you more mindful, and it's going to get you to those levels a lot quicker. Yeah.
Or with a lot more ease. Maybe not quicker, but if you're dedicated,
Yeah.
it'll be easier
Yeah.
in the long run, right? If you're just going all nimbly bimbly kind of thing and just shooting and hoping that you're hitting something, gonna take you a long time. But maybe some of those shots stick, right?
Yeah.
And then you stick with it. But did you learn how to get there?
Yeah.
Right. So having a focus there will get you to that next level. Whether or not it's quicker depends on you.
Yeah.
But you'll have a better understanding of how you got to that next level and what the next level beyond that is, or what the levels are of the people around you are at. And I think that's the duality of it, right? You know, the more that you know about your level, the more that you don't know about like what's beyond that, but the more that you know what's behind you, kind of thing. Like, you know significantly more about what it takes to get there.
Yeah. It is like, I mean, we both know where I'm at in my journey. Well, you probably know more than I do, but I do.
Pawn.
Smash.
Yeah.
I do. I'm definitely at a spot now where I look at brand new white belts, and there's a distance from me to them, you know, and I'm like, wow, I was there 2.5 years ago, and it's interesting to see, you know. So one of the things that we had in here, and I thought that was funny. Are you a Marvel movie guy?
Yeah.
How getting to that like super high level, I think it's Thanos says something like, I am inevitable.
Yeah.
And it's like when the outcome feels like inevitability in every match, you know, like, that's sort of like what
it's the best level ever. I love it.
Yeah.
Like, whenever I'm rolling with anyone, and like, I love the idea when people are like, oh, actually try. I think like when they're like, oh yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Or they say, oh, I actually want to see what you do when you actually try. I was like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, let's go. I was like, okay. It's not gonna be fun.
Yeah.
And you're probably gonna tap a whole bunch, and it might make you feel like shit. And like, Max is one of my favorite guys with that, because he's just a mouthpiece, but I really like it because he doesn't truly mean what he says. He just likes to like goat people on, and then he always says, I'm like, you're not gonna like it.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do this, and this to you.
Yeah.
And I give him like I give him the submissions I'm gonna do. And he's like, no. I'm like, oh, don't worry. I'll get all three.
Yeah.
You have zero and it's in 6 minutes. You can try and even run.
Yeah.
I will corner you.
Yeah.
And I will
I'm applying this submission to you. Yeah.
And this is like, I am inevitable.
I'm curious to see next time I roll with Max if he's going to take the advice that I gave him about if when you're applying pressure to him to not go
and probably not.
I'm like, dude,
just makes me want to do it more.
It's just like, I know how much it sucks if you do that. Like, try and just sort of breathe through it.
You gotta do what Thai people do, and like in Muay Thai, they call it stone face.
Okay.
So they get hit, and they're just, and like in Muay Thai over there, if you get hit and you show like pain, you get, the other guy gets extra points, right?
Oh, right.
So you're supposed to get hit and be like, just like walk through like Terminator, right?
Yeah.
He needs a little bit more of that, because anytime I roll him and he makes a noise, I'm like, I'm gonna make you make that noise just a little bit louder because it's funny.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah.
Oh man,
he's doing good though. He's trying, and he's doing good.
He
He's
picks up a lot
he's
of
pretty
stuff.
athletic too.
Yeah. He picks it up pretty quick. It's just, yeah, he lets his mouth get ahead of him sometimes. I'm like, sometimes you need to be put in your place, Max.
And as I have mentioned on the podcast before, I did that with Danny once.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was like, I don't think I need to be the loudmouth guy anymore. Yep. I'm just going to not be that guy.
Not worth it. Because Danny was that guy.
Yeah.
Danny was a little bit cocky with me one time, and he is one of the guys that he's good. And then he got a little cocky. He's like, well, let's go full pace. I was like,
full pace.
Full? He's like, oh yeah, because he had caught me like in something like the roll before, and like because I was playing.
Yeah.
And then I was like,
yeah.
You're not gonna like this. And I went hard and like knee on belly. I went knee on sternum. I went knee on neck. I just went wherever I wanted. And then after the roll, he just like laid on the mats. He just laid there staring at the ceiling. And he's like, what the hell just happened? I was like, I don't know what's awesome. There's levels.
Yeah, there's levels to this, buddy. Well, maybe that's a good way to cap off the episode. Yeah. Thanks for listening. Anything you want to say, final words on today's episode 14?
If you have any, like, if you want any feedback on yours, we're more than open to like answering questions. We're more than open to even like any episodes that you have like an idea.
Yeah.
Like, man, I would really love if they covered this. Shoot us a comment, however you can get all of us, Instagram, on Spotify, on YouTube, wherever. But yeah, shoot us a message.
I would go so far as to say, you know what? Speaking of levels to things, we're trying to continually level up our podcast game. You know, we're constantly trying to like pick apart what we're doing wrong, what we're doing right. So I would say feel free to say like, hey man, this really bugs me. You guys have covered this too many times, or why aren't you talking about this? Like, feel free to give us honest feedback.
Only with Emmett. My ego can't take it. I'm a black belt. Damn well deserve respect, right?
Yeah. And when people do answer your questions, it's going to be Travis. I will answer your questions, but maybe you just got to pay extra to have Travis answer your questions.
Yeah,
you
totally.
Send money.
If you want a good answer, I will cost you money.
Yeah.
If you want an Emmett answer,
it's free.
Free.
Totally free. Yeah.
There's levels.
But yeah, thanks for listening. And
other than that, if we don't catch you now, catch you on the flip side.